Hello and welcome back on the second day of our manufacturing days here during the Vienna Up 2021. As we are wrapping up the second day of our program, we are looking at a topic that always pops up when we're talking to startups, and that is open innovation. So we're going to have an open innovation online panel that is being led by Magister Sandra Stromberger. She is the founder and managing director of Industry Meets Makers. Industry Meets Makers is an open innovation community building format that aims to initiate new collaboration models between top industry and the creative maker scene. The current core concept essentially consists of top industrial companies, SMEs, and research organizations, so-called briefings in future technology areas such as robotics, AI, 3D printing, Industry 4.0, IoT, big data, blockchain, just to name a few of them. And then inviting innovative makers, startups, or SMEs, freelance developers, designers, students, and hobbyists to solve together with them within the framework of an approximately 6 months to get to know each other and co-create during that period of time. If the desired ideal case, a successful joint follow-up program can be launched after the core term of the program if the industry and the innovator agree. I'm really looking forward to this panel discussion, and I say welcome and thank you to Sandra for hosting it.
Thank you very much for the introduction and the opportunity to be here. Today we have the pleasure of welcoming 4 members of our community. Some of them have been with EMM since the first year, and therefore they have a lot of experience to share. I would like to welcome Rafael Gatringer from Infineon, a large semiconductor manufacturer that has sensationally been a challenge owner at EMM since 6 years in a row now. Hi, Rafael.
Hello.
And Christian Bodor from Dele Hase, a medium-sized family business producing safety relays and providing electronic manufacturing services, which is also participating for the 3rd time with its own challenge. Hi, Chris.
Hi, thanks for having me.
And Thomas Blank from the startup Tributech. He and his team got involved in our EMM process 2 years ago and was subsequently able to conclude an international cooperation with Infineon. Hi, Thomas.
Hi, Sandra. Hi, thanks for having me.
And Clemens Meyer from Meyer Makes, who has also been part of our community since years. He started as a hobby maker and now he's a professional maker, and he joined our process and developed also a very interesting workshop format for us, which helps to match industry partners and makers. So, hi, Clemens.
Hello.
Rafael, I might start with you again. You have experimented with many different briefing topics in the past. I think the range is started at drones and went via new work, security chips, radar technology, and now home appliance technology. And yeah, what would you say? What are the most significant results, experiences, highlights, and also failures you made in the last few years?
Yes, hi Sandra and everyone again. So this is a very fascinating question because we have to go back in history. 2016, it's been a long time now. We are very happy to regard ourselves as founding members from the corporate side with Industry Meets Makers. And for example, 2016, we had a challenge with drones. And for example, FH Technicum, we had a team. And later on, the person who was assisting the team, he now is finishing a PhD for Infineon. So that was a really great contact to get in touch with FH Technicum. Then, for example, 2019, we had the Trust X challenge, a security chip challenge, where we got to know Tributech. Thomas is here. So this was a crucial point because then we saw it's not only about the makers. More and more standard companies are also applying to Industry Meets Makers and startups. So this was a very valuable experience. 2020, for example, with radar, then introducing a new chip, 60 gigahertz radar chip for gesture control. We got a lot of attention there, also from other companies. Also, for example, last year, the boot camp, the virtual boot camp together with Thales, where we had a remote setting due to the COVID restrictions. So there are so many highlights, or finally also 2016, when we were having barbecues in the evening with Gerhard, who has his home here in Vienna. This was also a very special highlight. For sure, there were also failures. When, for example, once we tried new work, where we only afterwards, after starting the challenge, asked the relevant people if they could support the makers. So this, for example, was for sure a very important experience, that you have to get in touch with your company before you start participating with Industry Meets Makers from the corporate side. Other failure could be perhaps that you just don't get support, or the hardware, or it's too complicated shipping hardware. You see the limitations of a corporation, which is very stuck to the processes, stuff it does 1,000 times a day, but perhaps not the first time at Industry Meets Makers. Yeah, and perhaps some tips for other corporates, for example, to have really an engaged organizer who communicates with the community. Also, regarding the challenge, you have to really specify it, it should be based on a real problem that your company has, not just some challenge that no one will be interested in the corporation. This is also very important, and as I already said, the backing of the business unit, of the business line, that there are real people behind it. So it should be a real honest approach to the community, not for PR only, for example. It should be really enabling innovation. And we also see that people in our teams, especially, they want to work together. So then it's not like the competition where you have one winning team, but really community in the end, collaborating to drive innovation and to bring it to the next level.
Thank you very much. Chris, Dele has set up an own factory hub where hardware startups can rent space and also benefit from your infrastructure and your expert know-how. Which startups are currently in your space, and how does the collaboration work on a day-to-day basis work?
Yeah, it's a good question. So at the moment, we try to have a very colorful portfolio of startups in our hub. We are a hardware electronic manufacturing startup hub. And at the moment, we have different startups in IoT, in engineering of automation systems. We have also a camera startup in our hub, a drone startup. And now we are searching also for more PV model startups. We have some interesting startups there, and also for animals, so observation of animals and so on. So a new startup in our hub, and they try to create a platform based on a hardware. So we see also in the future, hardware is not, it's hard, but also very interesting to be a platform. So at the moment, we have different directions in the startups. And this is also very interesting for the community, because they push together, they change knowledge together, and this is very fruitful for the whole community and for the whole system. Why we do that? So we do it since 2017, and we have seen by Tele, we need such other access to startups, to innovation. From the past, we have seen closed innovation only in the company. It's okay, and it brings the Tele to the state who they are. But then what's next? And we see more and more open innovation is starting for 4 or 5 years, and now it's increasing more and more. We see it also more in the direction of startup and corporate startups, so different mixtures between collaborations, different players. And for this, you need a hub, or you need an infrastructure with some ideas can happen. And IMM is also supporting these structures where something can happen. We have seen it also in this year. Now we found also some other corporates, not only startups and makers, also corporates, they want to collaborate with us. So, and it needs this random come together from time to time with a clear frame, yeah, with a clear problem. But this random come together is very important for innovation. Yeah, also Silicon Valley is working on this side. So the randomized meetings, yeah, I know this one. Okay, maybe we can connect you with this guy. So it's exactly this what it needs, yeah, and this is what we're also supporting. We understand as an active what we try is the factor hub between the standard organization and the startups. We are a gearbox. We are talking both languages. They're a little bit different, and it needs an active understanding, a helping hand mindset, and also clear expectations. What can the startup can expect from Factor Hub and also from the other side. And then step by step, it creates a community, it creates a playground where things can happen.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Thomas, you and your team discovered EMM in 2019. Can you tell us a little bit more about your startup and why you joined EMM?
Yeah, sure. So we at Tributech offer data audit and sharing technology, so enabling our customers to selectively share data between participants and to establish trust from data source to data consumer. So when it comes to sensor data, it is necessary to have some hardware anchor as root of trust, and therefore the challenge of Infineon, where they needed use cases for the Optiga Trust X was highly interesting for us and perfectly fitted our product. So yeah, it was the right challenge at the right time for us.
What were the biggest advantages for you, and what would make the process easier for you from your point of view in the future? Do you see space for improvement?
We got perfect access to the experts at Infineon via Rafael, and also to the researchers at the Management Center Innsbruck. They had already a lot of experience with the Trust X chip. That was highly helpful. But the most advantage we received as a startup from the IMM challenge and the afterwards cooperation with Infineon was the security partnership we received. So we became an associated security partner, and end of last year, a premium security partner. So this helped us in creating credibility when talking to large corporates. So this was especially helpful for us.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Clemens, you took part in the Magna Challenge 3 years ago, and you made a lot of experience during the process, and you developed afterwards a very interesting workshop format, which helps now our community. You started as a hobby maker, as I said before, and now you're a professional maker. Can you tell us a little bit more about your learnings within Industry Meets Makers?
Yes, thank you. Thanks for reminding me it's 3 years already. I didn't really realize that. But yes, I took part in the Magna's briefing in 2018. And we got to a very serious point in the process where we have already filed documents and got in contact with patent lawyers to possibly acquire a patent. And we had encountered a crucial point in the process where you have to be aware of competition, where you have to be aware of some hurdles that occur. And we decided not to file the patent just because it is likely that it won't be granted because it combines technologies in a new way that may be existing. And we knew that another automotive company was already working on the same thing. They may have started around the same time, and that is just a decision about money and manpower, how far you want to go into a project and go further with it. So the bigger the chance to get a follow-up project is a lot bigger if you get started the right way and if you make it to a certain threshold point where you can decide on what actions to take next. And for me, this experience was a major turning point in my life. As you said, I've been a hobby maker for a few years. And in that year, I turned pro, so to speak. I became a full-time maker because I realized a lot of things. There are some niches in the innovation and manufacturing segment that are not well established, especially in Austria or in the European market as well. And I wanted to fill some niches. So I started to develop some things that I could do, building prototypes, producing content. Meanwhile, I've got customers all over the world. And one thing that got me thinking the most is how can you make sure that these open innovation processes or these collaborations have the best chance of succeeding? Because when you work with industry partners, when you work with startups or individuals or independent developers, it is so different to work with each of those. And when they have to interact, it gets even more difficult. So there is not just one solution to get it all aligned to a process that everybody's happy with. It's really hard to get something going. A major concern is always when you get started, you have great ideas, you're very excited about the project, your industry partner is all for it. And then months go by until you have all the meetings that everybody that is possibly involved has agreed to, and the funding is agreed on, and then you need to make contracts or whatever, because the lawyers have to be happy before you can really start. And all of a sudden it's 6 months ahead and people pretty much lost interest. And you couldn't get to a stage where you have something in your hand, like a prototype that you can show the bosses and tell them this is what we're building and this has potential. If you get to that stage as far as possible, you have the best chance of succeeding and making your idea into a product. And because you can't just make one thing that fits all, I've decided to develop a workshop that takes all the possible participants, and in that workshop we agree on the conditions on how things will work. We formulate them and we make some kind of document that is not like a legal contract. It's more like a moral code, but it writes down all the needed facts, all the stuff that people have to know to work together on an equal level and formulate the first steps. And in case something goes horribly wrong, for example, some IP maybe at stake, maybe somebody higher up doesn't agree with everything, you have something that documents everything that you've done, that you've agreed to, and everybody has a chance to not be let's say people are much more secure in approaching their partner when they can meet at the same level. And that is what that workshop should ensure, and make sure that this process is as fast as possible so they can reach a certain stage at the end of the IMM process to decide how they will go on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Great. You mentioned one really important keyword, the keyword IPR. This question is coming up again and again. How did you handle this issue in the past? Maybe, Rafael, you have experience with this topic, right?
Yeah, well, this issue is often discussed with startups, for example, when collaborating with them. Usually, for example, in startups, startup acceleration, which is perhaps 4 months, 6 months, this phase is often used for corporate and also for startups, perhaps as due diligence to start and look, do we want to collaborate in the future? So only after that phase, IP might become relevant. So it's not like after 2 months you have this amazing invention where you can already file a patent. So I think this is not really an issue. We never had such issues with industry makers.
Okay. Chris, a further question in your direction. What kind of people are you looking for if you join in industry makers? Why don't you find them via your usual ways?
I mean, you have to be open in different directions. And in special case, EMM is a cool project, a cool access to collaboration space between corporates and also startups and makers. And what we are searching for is also startups in our daily business. But this is an added channel to find different in a bigger setting and in a very compact format. Also interested people in different technologies and so on. And this is also a place where you have a compromised setting here, and you didn't have to matchmake with each person individually, so you have it compromised on one place, and this is very helpful to to start and also to make further collaborations in an open innovation format.
Mm-hmm. Okay, the main object of Industry Meets Makers is to create successful follow-up projects. What does it need that the chance is high that you have success?
I think on one side, we have to know which project is stopping or which project is ongoing. This is one of the important things. We know in the past that some projects are stopping and we didn't know it. And then I think it needs exactly a playground. It needs people, they are motivated to jump in with, how can I say, without of clear benefits from the beginning, when we have seen it also in the last EMMs, but also in other formats. Very often it's only an idea after also a process. So you find some other problems, then you throw away the first idea and you define another idea and next steps. And then it needs more a helping hand. It needs the sense of, okay, what needs this tiny plant, yeah, and to bring it to grow. And this needs people, they are motivated and also they are thinking a little bit different as the standard organization, where they're very often KPI driven, where they have clear, yeah, what's the goal, point, yeah, next steps, clear picture. We provide, and we think more in the effectuation format. This is more the way how we're working in the future and in the past. And when you bring these people together, then also the project will grow and will be successful. When a lot of things during the way are the right ones. So it's not only the idea, it's not only the people, it's a lot of things during the whole journey. The initial point, the playground, this is very important.
Rafael, Thomas, do you have further ideas?
Regarding what's helpful for a successful collaboration, it helps a lot if the outlook after the challenge is clear for both sides. So if you have a clear view, what's your potential upside as a startup? So like mentioned before, if you spend weeks, months, and endless hours on working on a challenge, and afterwards it's a few nice pictures, a report or presentation, and that's it. That's not what you're approaching as a startup. You want to grow, you want to succeed, you want to collaborate, and yeah, be successful. So a clear outlook, what's possible after the challenge is highly helpful. And also direct link to the experts, and not a forwarding from a single point of contact, and he forwards it internally. It's easier if you get direct access to the experts, because it saves a lot of time. And yeah, these Chinese whispers are sometimes misleading when converting problems to the departments.
Okay, Rafael.
Yeah, just one remark. I met with Thomas again here at Vienna Up, and we had a great chat yesterday. And it's really important. It's very basic, but every few months, just have a great chat, strategic chat. What's going on in your world? What's going on in my world? Startup world, corporate world, very different worlds. And don't expect to know the world of startup and also other rounds. So really stay in touch and communicate on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, our time slot is coming to an end, so I have one short closing question for all of you. If you had to sum up the biggest opportunities and challenges of open innovation in the industry in 2 words or 2 sentences, what would they be? Clemens.
Who should start? Okay, one thing it's the key learning for me is that when you collaborate in open innovation, you learn a lot about how to understand people that come from different places and take advantage of their potential. So you learn how startups work, you learn how big corporates operate. That was a key learning for me. And you also understand individual developers better. And that enables you to take advantage of their power. So if you are in search of a collaboration partner, you understand better what to look for and how that can work. And that's a great thing that you can do with industry means makers.
Rafael?
I would say accessing honest feedback about your products, validating if your models of the world are right. That's very important. And especially also forming new networks, forming new partners, collaborating on different levels with new players. That's really very, very valuable.
Thank you very much. Chris?
Yeah, what we see it's fast learning, fast failures, fail early and fail intelligent. And this is what we see very often in EMM, in this mixture of all experts, is exactly this what you get as a feedback.
Thomas?
Yeah, personally, I think it's the collaboration on eye level between startups and corporates, no matter the hierarchy, so position in a company, department, experience. So that's highly helpful, in my opinion.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your inputs, and I give the floor back to our host from AT Manufacturing in case that there are a few questions.
Thank you so much, Sandra. Really appreciate it. Thank you to the entire panel. You guys were reflecting really nicely in practical terms what our keynote speaker, Thomas Felger, as well as yesterday, Johann Homer, were talking about. It's better to be integrated in an ecosystem than try to be ego and try to do it all yourself. So this was great input. I really appreciate it. Sandra, thank you so much for helping me out there and discussing with the panel this important topic.